Hey everyone, Cameron here, and I want to tell you why you need to be uploading and archiving your digital objects as part of your research process. It turns out that sharing your research outputs openly and ensuring they're preserved for future use is a key part of advancing science. Because how annoying would it be if somebody cited a resource and they gave you a link and then you go to that link and that resource does not exist anymore? You get that dreaded 404 error, page not found. And how we resolve this in our world of research is by using archive repositories. And the example archive repository that I want to share with you today is called Zenodo, which is a powerful platform where anyone can upload, share, and preserve a wide range of materials, from data sets and software to publications and presentations. It helps ensure that your work is citable, helps it make it reproducible, and even to an extent discoverable by others. And in this video, I'll explain why Zenodo is an essential tool for researchers looking to make their work more accessible and easily integrated into the global scientific community. Let's go ahead and take a look. Today I'm going to be talking about uploading files to Zenodo. And if you're not familiar, Zenodo is an open access repository that allows researchers to share, preserve, and cite their data sets, publications, and other research outputs. But before I show you Zenodo's website, I want to answer the question, well, what is an archive? An archive is a location that you can permanently put digital objects and typically, or they should, provide you with a digital object identifier. That is a permanent link, kind of like a link. It's a permanent link back to that digital object. And your DOIs are backed to help ensure that they always resolve and you'll never get that 404 page not found or resource not found. What this also means is because we're talking about permanent storage, just as bad as having something go missing is having something change out from underneath of you. And so what we want in our archives is that the contents for a given identifier, for a given DOI, we want the contents that those link to cannot change. What this means is that anything you upload into an archive is frozen in time. You cannot change it. You cannot delete it, even if you own it, unless you jump through a lot of hoops. And part of those hoops is having an extremely good reason why you should delete something. But instead of deleting, you can create new versions of your archived repository. So if I create an archive with maybe a data set and I need to maybe delete, or I've added a couple of rows to that data set, and instead of changing the one I've already uploaded, what I should do is upload a new version. And now you can also use Zenodo to store frozen in time versions of your code. And you might be thinking, well, Cameron, why would I not just use GitHub to store code? It also gives me benefits like easy collaboration. But the problem with GitHub is that your GitHub file storage is temporary. And what it means is this. I have a GitHub repository here for my ever so popular dot counter program. And it doesn't matter what the program actually does. What matters is if I give you this link to my GitHub profile or to this repository, you can absolutely type in this link and go to this repository, especially since I've made this repository or this GitHub repository publicly accessible. But since I own this, what I have the right to do at any time is I can come over here to the settings tab. I can then scroll all the way to the bottom and I can go to the danger zone. In here, I can, at the very bottom, delete this repository. This will make this resource absolutely disappear. And so what I can do here, since I own this, is I have the ability to delete this at any point in time just because I feel like it. If you're talking about, well, maybe this is code or a repository that you want to cite in a paper you're working on, good luck, because once this thing disappears, nobody's going to ever be able to visit it or find it again, even if you have the link. So How we resolve this issue is by using permanent internet archives, such as Zenodo. So let's go ahead and take a quick practice at how we can upload something to Zenodo. Zenodo has two primary websites. The first of which is, I'm going to show you, is actually going to be zenodo.org. This is their primary website where people will go. And so if I type in zenodo.org, we'll see that I go to Zenodo's website. It has a search bar at the top. It has a couple of recent uploads and a login. What you can do on Zenodo is you have the ability to search through other archives that people have uploaded, whether those archives contain data, whether they contain code, whether it contains both, whether it contains a presentation, or any other types of digital objects. You have the ability to peruse through these things using titles or keywords and search terms, as well as optional filters. So if I want to look for a data set related to rainfall, I've typed in rainfall in the search bar, I can check the box for data sets, and now I can go find any data set that's related to rainfall that has been uploaded to Zenodo. But remember, I said that Zenodo is for permanent storage. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to upload our things while we're doing demonstrations, or maybe we're just getting a feel for how a Zenodo-based workflow would look like, and we don't want to make any permanent decisions. Or we don't want to have Zenodo go through all the trouble of generating a permanent DOI for us to just throw that away because we were just playing around trying to figure out how this thing works. And so what I recommend is if you want to practice uploading something to Zenodo, you should always use sandbox.zenodo.org. This is a website also owned and operated by Zenodo. And so I'll go ahead and type in sandbox.zenodo.org, and you'll see that it looks almost the exact same. The only difference is a little banner saying that this is used for testing purposes. And we're going to do just that because I'm going to create a brand new upload to Zenodo. And in fact, I'm going to upload my dot counter program. So the first thing that I should do to get ready to upload my program is, well, I need to find the files on my computer first. When they're in a state that I want to then permanently archive, I'm going to create a zip file of the contents of these files. And I'll create a zip file from my command line interface here. You can absolutely open up your File Explorer or Finder if you're on Mac, and you can create a compressed archive by right-clicking, selecting compress or zip. So I'll go ahead and create a zip file with these 4 files in it, my .counter.py, my dots.jpg, as well as my requirements.txt. And I've gone ahead and I've put that on my desktop. So I'll come back here to my Zenodo. You can see I've already signed in here. So all I need to do is go ahead and click on the plus to create a new upload. Once I do that, I'll be given Zenodo's prompt, or a series of prompts, I should say, because I have a lot of metadata to fill out here. The first thing is, well, what files are you actually uploading? I can go ahead and click the upload files. It's taken me right to my desktop, and I'll go ahead and double click on my counter.zip to upload that specific zip file. Then, once I have fully uploaded that file, I have, of course, the option to upload other files, but I'm okay with just this singular zip file here because it contains the contents of everything that I want. Now Zenodo is going to ask me, do I already have a DOI for this upload? Because you can think maybe I've received a DOI from some other organization and I'm simply creating a backup here on Zenodo. Or maybe I've already created a version of this on Zenodo and I don't need a new DOI for this upload here. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to click no. I do not already have a digital object identifier for this upload, and Zenodo can tell me that I can get one right now. So I've clicked generate a DOI for me right now, and once I upload this, this will be my permanent link, my DOI that takes me back to this digital object. Now, Because we are on Zenodo Sandbox or sandbox.zenodo.org, this DOI is actually going to be fake and it will resolve to nothing, which is okay for the purpose of this demonstration. Because once we have generated a DOI or answered the question as to whether or not we need one, we can select our resource type. Now this is a software, so I can scroll through these prompts and find the software button, but you can see all of the different types of things that you can upload to Zenodo, whether it's a data set, an image, a chart, a lesson, right, with a PowerPoint inside of it, or anything else. If it is digital, you can pretty much upload it to Zenodo. But like I said, I have a software here, and so I'm going to select the resource type being software. I can give this a title, which I'll call this .counter, as it is the title of the software that I've uploaded. You can add additional titles. You can also add a publication date. So I'll let this be published on 12/20/2024, December 20th, 2024 here. And you can even add creators. The thing that I really like about the creator search is that you can search for people by name, identifier, or affiliation. So I'll go ahead and see if I pop up here. And thankfully, I do. And the reason that I do is because Zenodo is also integrated with ORCID or ORCID. So if you have an ORCID, you will be able to find your ORCID and be able to quickly add yourself to any Zenodo upload. This is a very convenient feature to have. Here, it's populated my identifiers, and the last thing that I'll do is select my role. So for this role, we'll say I was the project leader because I created this digital object. So I'll go ahead and click Save here, and I've added myself as a creator. I can add a description of what this software does. This is typically also going to be kept in the metadata of the software itself, most commonly if it is a software inside of that README file. But I can say that .counter is a program, software program, that counts colored dots in images. And that is my very brief description. If you have a more advanced or more complex project that you're working on, of course, your description will be probably a little bit longer than mine. I can go through the rest of these prompts. I can select a license, which is something that I'll talk about in another video, but most commonly, if you're going to be working with software, people tend to revolve around MIT licenses. If you have any other creative works, maybe as part of your software, you created imagery for the documentation or something of that nature, you can use some type of Creative Commons license. So I'll go ahead, and since this is just a pure software, I'll edit this license and I'll select an MIT license, which gives permissions or easy permissions for sharing, code reuse, code extension, redistribution, and ensuring that I get credits as well. So I'll select the MIT license here. Then we can go through and start filling out the rest of the metadata. And this is all fairly straightforward. If I had any contributors, if anyone helped me on this software, but they weren't enough to be a creator, then I can add them as a contributor. If you click on contributor, it is the same type of form that you will fill out as we saw with the creators. You can enter keywords and subjects. This helps with the findability of your archive upload. Remember earlier when I typed in rainfall into a search bar? Well, that's going to search title, contents, and importantly, these keywords. So make sure that if you want your work to be findable, you have filled out appropriate keywords and search terms so that your work is more findable. So I'll go ahead and add image, counting, dots, and something like that. You can add these keywords or subjects to your benefit to make your work more discoverable. So I'll go ahead and just say image counting here. And of course, I would also recommend if there are any existing keywords or search subjects, then you should use those as well, since they'll also help the discoverability of your work. The next is the languages. What language was the code written in? Is all the documentation written in? Well, it is English, and that is the only language. There's also an optional date format. Whenever you do specify a date, you should specify the date format. So if I had a date along with it, then I can also include the date as well. Now, there is a way to add version information. So if this is the first version, this is most useful, right? If you are using a code repository in tandem with a Zenodo archive, you can go ahead and select a version. I do not have any version information on my software upload, so I can leave this blank. Zenodo will be the publisher because this is the only place that I have uploaded this work to. And then I can start filling in any information about funding, alternative identifiers, or any related works. The last thing that I can do is add some references and specify where this code might live, if there is a source site or source repository of this code. Typically with software projects, people will have code on GitHub that they can openly collaborate with and work on, and then they'll save snapshots or specific versions of that project onto a service like Zenodo. And that will give you your frozen in time snapshots, such as if anyone wants to cite a specific version of a project, they can always go back to the Zenodo upload. So I can go ahead and say that the repository, the code repository for this program lives at my previous GitHub URL that we saw earlier. So I'll go ahead and enter this repository URL. The programming language primarily that was used for this program was Python. So I'll go ahead and type in Python, let it populate the dropdown and select it. Development status, is this a work in process? Is it currently unsupported? Has it just gone under inactivity, meaning you're no longer working on it? Is it suspended, meaning there's a definite period of inactivity, but you are planning to come back to it so long as maybe the stars align? Has it been moved from another location? So on and so forth. We'll say that this is an inactive project because I'm not planning to come back and make any improvements to my Git.counter program. Next up, I have publishing information. If I have published, right? If I have published this on this software, maybe in something like JOSS, the Journal of Open Source Software, I can delegate or relate that metadata with that publication onto the Zenodo archive, but I have not published this anywhere else. Have I ever gone to a conference and shared this? I have not, but you have so much metadata that you can input here for your Zenodo archive upload. Once I've filled out all of my metadata fields that are applicable to my upload, I can come over here to the right and I can go ahead and click Publish. Once I publish it, this will be permanently available for everyone online to see if this was not Sandbox Zenodo. Since this is Sandbox Zenodo, nobody will really be able to access this unless I share a specific link. But if you're not certain what your archive will look like when you upload it, you should absolutely go ahead and click the Preview button. When you click the Preview button, you'll see that Zenodo populates what your archive page will look like. So it will have the title of your upload, it will have your description, it will have the authors or the creators as well as any contributors. You'll also show the files that were uploaded. Now, here is a zip file, but Zenodo is smart enough to go inside of a zip file and say, okay, I'm going to show the entire directory tree or the contents of that zip file so that everyone can see before they download something. Then I can see all of the other details here. And after previewing this, I'm feeling pretty happy with this version. So I'll go back to edit and I'll go ahead and click on that publish button and we'll finalize this upload. I'll click publish here one more time. And you can see that I have created my first Zenodo upload. Here you can see that I have all of the file or the zip file with all the contents that I've uploaded just as you saw in the preview. And if I wanted to share this with somebody, share this via a direct link, I can always use the share button over here. Your mileage may vary though, depending if you're using real Zenodo or the Sandbox version for testing. So that is how you upload a digital object to Zenodo, as well as some reasons why you might want to upload something to Zenodo. Zenodo is also capable of much more complex workflows. If you want to automate an integration between Zenodo and GitHub, you can absolutely do that, but we'll talk about that in another video on another day. I want to thank you all for tuning in and hope that you choose to use an archive repository for your very next project or for an ongoing project so that you can make your work more reproducible, more shareable, and more accessible. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you around.